Guys, you're looking at a still shot this morning from Temple Bar Marina. That's in Lake Mead. We've looked at it quite often, different images from there. And yesterday you saw that this tire wave break is sitting on the ground. But what we haven't seen much of in a couple of months are the clouds rolling in, basically from the south. And that's a good sign. What's happening is we got a battle from the natural monsoon that comes in and the fighting with that ultra high pressure system that's been moving across the Rockies. And what is happening, it's a lot of it's not hitting the ground here yet, but just south of this, the clouds look better, and that's where the clouds are coming from. Guys, we're looking at what's called the upper level water vapor, and this is the highest level on the scans. It's at about 38,000 feet, where the jet stream is. You can tell it. There's a lot of moisture there. And normally this area would be showing it at that height. And what we're doing is seeing the heat coming off the top of the dome that we've been talking about moving across the nation at up to 600 dm, rises to about 19,000 feet. Again, we're looking at not quite double that, but the heat it's pushing so high that heat is escaping into the upper atmosphere. But the dome is under here, and it looks much different at the surface. We can see in the green areas, we're getting what would be, I would call the normal monsoon flow. And notice how it's moving in this direction. So the pictures we were looking at Mead was looking at pretty much in this direction. They were coming, again, from the south area. We're going to get closer, a little more detail. Upcoming, again, over the Lake Michigan area here and up into Canada, again, Florida. Again, this looks like what the normal monsoon pattern. What we're seeing is a battle between this pattern that usually gets a lot of rain this time of year in the desert Southwest, battling a high pressure zone that has really escalated along the Rockies because of the top of the mountains are bare and they are radiating a tremendous amount of thermal heat. And that's amazing to see it at this altitude. Again, the bubble, if you want to call it that, is much lower. We are about 20,000 feet lower. Now let's move halfway down to the mid-level water vapor, and then we'll go to the lower level and we'll kind of get an idea of what's happening at the very top and how it plays out on the ground. Now we're getting closer to the dome of the high pressure system at the mid levels. And you can see where the moisture is right here, guys. Arizona needs it. California, Vegas needs it. The whole desert Southwest needs it. You can see where the other moisture is still showing up. That's important. And again, we're looking at how much wider this area is. Notice the orange right there. That's the thermal radiators of the Rocky Mountains. And that's more heat, more drought into this area. And it's almost a wall along the eastern slope of the mountains. Now, we're going to drop one layer lower. And guys, I hope that you guys get a lot of this rain. And it's still building up, coming out of Mexico. Let's drop to the low level. Now we're seeing the full impacts. And look at the, again, the edge of the Rockies here. This is the drier air, the redder it is. But anywhere where it's yellow and things like that, it's not much moisture. And you can tell with all that cloud cover, we may get some rain through here. It looks like it's a possibility. We have been seeing some high winds. If you remember in the Mead videos yesterday, we were talking about high winds coming through that area. But here in southern Arizona, coming into southern California, and Lake Mead would be right about here. And they're not quite getting the moisture yet, but look, building up right in here now, coming through. This is going to go just south of you guys. Maybe this will get in there. Now let's pull this in a little bit, man. This is a very high and very warm high pressure area here, very dry. That's what this is indicating. But because of that, we know it's hot. Here we are coming up. This is the Phoenix area coming through here. It's almost making it into Sedona, maybe Grand Canyon here. But here is Lake Mead. You see how the Colorado River comes in here and then drops down towards Havasu and the other dams. And that we're seeing the clouds come right about from here, about the center of that Lake Mead section. from the south, again from this direction, right over the marina, just not quite getting to the ground yet. That I was hoping that we would get one of these green blobs. This one has not dissipated yet, but you can see the effects of the heat. We're hoping for it. Remember, there's more coming out of Mexico. As in here in the southeast, we're seeing the pressure of that dome, guys, and the dryness pushing further south each day. This is going through about 200 frames, and you see the changes coming through Arkansas as all of this dryness, which again indicates heat also, is pushing further south. And between this yellow zone in the Atlantic and this dry zone, this is going to be squeezed together, moving through this channel like we've been seeing, but we talked about it. Now, what happens when you get pressure from here and here, and you're squeezing the rain's going to be heavier in more isolated places. It has to go somewhere. Guys, and moving up into the northwest, you can see the top of the very dry area here, and we're not getting a lot of green signatures in this high cloud cover. Some of you guys there from Northern California, Utah, Vegas, or in Oregon and Washington, let us know if you're getting any moisture. At least it's maybe a cooling cloud cover like we're seeing at Temple Bar at Lake Mead. Now, Canada's pushing down some pretty good moisture. We've seen this over the Lake Michigan area for the last couple of days. And here in the northeast, guys, check this out. Right there. That is very close to being rain, but you can see, again, coming off Hatteras here, that that's where the moisture is being pushed to. Again, what has happened, they've opened up this channel of very dry air as it moves from left to right or from west to east. And as this area is dropping into it, notice how it quickly dissipates. This is a very powerful system you're looking at to the left. It's a record breaker. And today's the first day that, when we first started talking about it, that would start to set up over into the central and eastern United States and really increase the heat. And let's back it out, not water vapor, just the infrared images of the moisture. And you can see the same pattern. A lot of moisture here, especially along the northern California and Nevada border, moving into Oregon and Washington. Look at this. Maybe you're getting some. It would be a blessing. What would be very good, if it happens, is some of this moisture that we're seeing now dissipate as it gets into the edges of the high pressure zone. If it comes in late this evening and moves through the night, you won't have that top side heating of the sun, and you may get more rain that way. That's what we're hoping for. And let's switch satellites just for a moment and look at the total precipitable water for the entire area, guys. And we've seen this much drier through this area for the last 2 or 3 months. And you can see here's the Colorado River here, and that moisture plume is doing everything it can to push against the high pressure. And one thing, let's make sure that we understand this. You may get some really good rains. It'll help the lake levels, help the river levels a little. A lot of it will absorb into the dry desert dirt, sand and dirt. And it may not make it to the rivers as far as runoff. Now, direct rain will. But what you don't want to do is let your guard down too much and say, well, here they come back and it's going to lead into a winter of good snow. You keep your eyes on this every day. And this may be a very temporary trend. We hope not. Because all the people there, they need the rain. All of you guys do. You need the hydropower. You need the, again, drinking water and agricultural feed. So if it would maintain this, if something would break in that El Nino loop, then it may happen. Because actually the system is battling itself, if you think about it. Let me back this out just a moment. Turn our grid on. We'll go down to the surface. Now, El Nino is hotter. It's pushing more heat up, right? It's causing this high pressure area. But because of that heat also, it's trying to find a conduit behind its extreme pressure pushing into the same system that it has set up. In other words, like nature colliding with itself, all due to one factor, the heat. And that's what we're seeing again. Have hope, guys. This is the where the most moisture is here in the southern Colorado River area. Of course, you can see it across the rest of the country. This probably is the most important moisture in the United States right there. And so do a rain dance, whatever you got to do, guys. Get out there. Now, people have talked about cloud seeding and things like that. But if it's a dry desert sky, there's no moisture to seed. You don't create the cloud. You just shift the moisture from one place. You take it away from one area, they lose, and you shift it over to another area. But you have to have that moisture starting somewhere. So if they were going to cloud seed, which I think is always a bad deal in the long run, especially if you have any chemicals that are hitting the ground that could do damage. But if it could get in here, if they were going to do it, they would have to do it when they have the moisture in the air like we saw over Lake Mead. I haven't heard anything about them doing that at all, but you would have to take advantage of a situation like this in order to do it. Now, if you guys at Temple Bar, Colville, and all the way up into Flaming Gorge, Powell, guys, Fontanelle, we're hoping for the same thing. You can see the river system. We're hoping that you can get some of this moisture. You get a little further to the north and west, it's not quite as much. Now, I have noticed in the weather patterns, this system will continue to push over to the east, then push back, dropping cool air into the northeast. Now, that's a good thing for the northeast, but it's going to put the heat back into the desert southwest. Again, guys, I don't want to draw this out much. It's basically just a quick update on the situation. We will look at the numbers at Mead and Powell while we're here. Again, current levels of Lake Mead, Lake Mohave, and Lake Havasu, Parker Dam and Davis Dam, of course, Mead. Mead is on the left, currently right here, guys, 1042.74. It should hold in 1042 for about its week-long average. Each day, though, is getting hotter. Evaporation is up real bad because of the high winds that we were seeing blowing people around at Lake Mead yesterday. 1042.74. Now, if you come over to Lake Mohave, again, these are further downstream. They're not like the tall dams. They operate even differently. But 64.301 for Lake Mohave. Its release is 8821 downstream to Lake Havasu, called Parker Dam. Now, the level there is 44.12. It's releasing not quite as much as it's taking in. They're releasing 8821 here, getting 6651 by this point. Now, you're going to have some evaporation rate, but guys, I'm not real familiar with these two areas, and it could be some agricultural drain also. But we're going to look at where these two dams get in trouble, but we need to, and we'll come back, we need to remember 64.3 and 44.812. Now, because of the Davis and Parker dams are downstream, water delivery driven facilities, their power production behaves differently than the upstream giants like Hoover or Glen Canyon. They do not have a single looming hydropower cliff. Instead, they lose power generation capacity based on the volume of water ordered downstream and precise operational pools. Is coming from the Bureau of Reclamation. At Davis Dam, minimum power pool is 5,700 feet, 5700. The operational reality is that this threshold is almost never risked because Davis Dam exists primarily to regulate water release from Hoover Dam and meet downstream delivers to Mexico. The reservoir is strictly held above 630 feet to maintain the necessary structural water pressure head for its turbines. They'll do that as long as they've got upstream feed to come in it so it can regulate the downstream feed, right? You have to have both. Now, they're currently at 643. We just saw that. So they're 14 feet good as far as the reservoir where it's supposed to hold. Now, you will lose hydropower at 570. So you still got 60 feet before you lose hydropower. That's a good thing, and like I said, it's a different system. But in the long run, the water all has to come from somewhere, and I don't know if we've seen the balancing act up at Mead and Powell, right? I don't know once it starts to get this low, how will they do it? Will they shut off the dams completely almost and preserve the Lake Mohave area? We don't know yet. Again, Lake Mohave is at 643.01. I said 13 feet above that 630 level that they want to maintain. Now, if you look at Havasu, 44.812. Let's look at that metric. Now, let's go to Parker Dam at Lake Havasu. Guys, minimum pool is 400. We're at 448, we just saw on the scale. So the absolute minimum elevation required to keep water flowing into the penstocks to spin the turbine, they're 48 feet above it. That's good. Operational reality. In practice, power generation suffers a severe drop long before hitting that floor. The dam must maintain a highly rigid level of between 440 and 450 feet so that the massive municipal pumping plants like the Mark Wilmer pumping plant, which feeds the CAP, that Central Arizona project, do not see their intake pipes become completely stranded. And this reminds me of first starting to dig into Powell and Lake Mead and getting the real data at the bottom. So it's not really a going from 400 to 448, a 48-foot buffer, guys. They have to maintain 440 to 450. They are 8 feet above 440 right now at 448. The dam must maintain a highly rigid water level between 440 and 450 feet so the massive municipal pumping plants, again like Mark Wilmer pumping plant, Central Arizona project, do not see their intake pipes become completely stranded. And guys, again, it works a little different. Unlike Lake Mead or Powell, which lose power due to crashing lake elevations, Davis and Parker dams lose power when water orders drop. Because their reservoir elevations are kept artificially stable to protect water pumps, their generators can only make electricity when water is actively requested and released. If severe Colorado River shortages force the federal government to slash downstream water deliveries, both dams will automatically see a proportional drop in hydropower output. So you got two there. One's in a little more trouble than the other, but the big boys upstream are definitely in trouble. And guys, don't forget about our new channel called the Sumerian History Channel, and the link will be in the comments, guys, and in the description. But we dropped one about 10 p.m. last night Central Time about Admiral Byrd and him. He describes Inky in the Hidden Diaries in Operation High Jump, and this is the cover for the book and movie that Paramount made. Anyway, it's very interesting. It's up now at the Sumerian History Channel on YouTube. Link below it, guys. It's a major heads up. God bless every one of you. We love you. He loves you. It's a heads up. Be safe.